Hey guys, it's Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, back again with Doctor Who. Last time on Doctor Who, we had Scream of the Shalka. What all happened on that one?
Okay. Well, it was animated.
It was.
And the Doctor looked like a stylized, say, 1920s Jazz Age version of Dracula, which was kind of weird.
Well,
and the Shalka were, I don't even remember, some kind of weird creatures. I mean,
yeah,
it didn't impress me, obviously.
Yeah.
I think we had a lot of trouble with it.
It was okay. It wasn't great, but that was our alternative Ninth Doctor before the show actually continued, which we're actually going to watch a little bit here today. We're going to be watching the Ninth Doctor episode Dalek. This is in his first and only series, his only season on the show, and this is episode 6. Which this is an interesting reaction because we're mostly here for you this time.
Oh boy.
Yeah, because I have already watched this episode, actually. You can go back in the Doctor Who playlist and watch my initial reaction. That was a long time ago. That was early 2018 that I watched that one. So it was incredibly early, but I haven't watched it in a while, so it'll be interesting to sort of get back into it again. For a little context, like I said, this was episode 6 of the Ninth Doctor's run. His current companion is Rose, a teenage girl from London, and I don't think there's anything else specific I could say.
Now, let me ask this, since I have not seen anything of the Ninth Doctor.
Yes.
When this particular version starts with him, does it start with his regeneration, or does it start with just him coming on and we've assumed there's a regeneration somewhere in the past?
He does not regenerate. I think I've heard that they didn't want to show the regeneration because even though they could have gotten Paul McGann back to film a regeneration scene, their logic was, well, the people coming into this new show, they don't have any connection to the Eighth Doctor, so they just completely started fresh. He is the Ninth Doctor, but we don't really know. We've never seen the regeneration between 8 and 9. So,
and what year did this start?
This is 2005.
2005. Okay. Okay. Just getting in context here, trying to remember back to 2005.
Yes.
Hard to think that was 15 years ago.
Although I think this episode takes place in 2012.
Okay.
But still, it's 2012 as portrayed by 2005.
Sure, why not?
They go to the future sometimes. There was actually an episode later on in the 11th Doctor's era. I believe it was from 2010 or 2011, but it was set in 2020. So,
okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think there's any more context I can really give. This is so early in their run.
Did you say he only lasted one season?
Yes, he did.
Was there a particular reason for that?
As far as I can tell, it wasn't the greatest role for him. He wasn't like... I don't know. It's like he wasn't getting into it or something, or there was disagreement between him and the showrunner and stuff, so they ended up he just didn't come back. And I think actually they announced, before the show even started airing, they announced that David Tennant would take over after the second season.
Okay.
Yeah. So, up to this point, let's see. They had faced off against the Autons in the first episode. They went to the destruction of the Earth when the sun expands in the second episode. They found a bunch of ghosts and Charles Dickens in the third episode. That was a fun episode, actually.
I've played Charles Dickens before.
And then we had a two-parter about an alien invasion with a bunch of aliens in human skin costumes, but they had like compressors to make them smaller to fit in there, and because they were compressed, they were constantly farting. It's not as bad as you would think. It was actually kind of funny. But now we're moving into the serious episode, the first serious episode. So yeah. Oh, and as one final note, there actually will not be an episode of Doctor Who Classic next week, which I didn't tell you actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Next week I am not doing videos whatsoever. Ish. I might be streaming and stuff, but yeah. Next week, no new uploads of anything. Unfortunately for you, that does not mean a week off.
Oh.
Actually, I could have just not said anything, and you would not have noticed, basically.
Okay.
With the exception of me not giving you the link to the next one, basically. So yeah, next week, no classic Who reaction, or modern Who reaction, because that's where we are right now. But instead, yeah, you gotta take a break for some things.
And I do want to point something out. Somebody posted something the other day that I watched. It was a little Rowan Atkinson clip. And I don't know if it was Mr. Bean or not, but he's, I guess, walking through some kind of store and he sees a nativity scene. And he kind of starts playing with the characters and doing all this incredibly stupid stuff. And at one point, a dinosaur comes in and tries to eat the baby Jesus. But the dinosaur is then either scared away or shot and killed by a Dalek that comes into the scene. So it's just, I saw that and went, only Rowan Atkinson would think of Daleks and dinosaurs in the nativity scene.
Yeah.
So, but it was very funny. So if you ever get a chance to watch that,
See,
and we are going to try to do something. I'm going to try to do something. Look up all those old Blackadder episodes.
Yeah.
Just love him.
See, that's where he's so much better than me. All I can think of is putting a Santa in the nativity scene. I'm an amateur, apparently. So.
Yes, we've had that game going on for years now.
It's fun. It's so fun. The only problem is I have limited amount of places to hide the Santa in the nativity. So,
although we do have a pretty expansive one.
Yeah.
We have the there was a set that my mom and dad had put together literally back in the 1950s. My dad built a little barn, and we were living in Europe at the time. So we've got these little, I guess they're plaster figures. And I got that when my parents passed away about 20 years ago. And I've added to it since. I've, strangely enough, gone down to a pet store and found a lot of stuff that goes in aquariums, like, palm trees and things like that. So we now have an area of grass that has a little lake in it that has the angel up above it and all the shepherds and the sheep looking up and all that sort of stuff. So it's like 5 feet wide now with 3 feet tall with all the trees and everything. But it's always fun to every day when I come in, look around and try to find the Santa in the nativity scene.
Well, but that's the problem, is that you can only hide it in the manger, or in there. Like there's nowhere you can hide it anywhere around the lake or anything. It gets tricky. It gets very, very tricky to do.
I will say this: last year, Alex managed to take Santa's sleigh with Santa in it and put it in the front of the nativity set, being pulled along by 8 sheep.
Did I do that?
Yes, that was you.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I have a picture of it.
I'm more clever than I remember, apparently. So
all right, so let's
now that we have had the longest intro in history, let's go ahead and get into this episode of Doctor Who. Here we go.
All right.
Like a great big museum.
An alien museum. Someone's got a hobby.
Wouldn't that be in Nevada?
Must have spent a fortune.
Area 51, in Utah.
Chunks of meteorite, moon dust.
Someone's collecting aliens. That makes you Exhibit A.
Oh, it's been a while.
The new symphonic version. It's not bad.
Yeah. They get a rock and roll version later on, late in the Tennant's run.
All right, Robert Sherman. Haven't we seen his stuff before?
Perhaps.
All personnel. Bad Wolf 1 descending. Bad Wolf 1 descending.
It's fun to hear Bad Wolf again.
It's a musical instrument. And it's a long way from home.
Looks like
Here,
your
let me-
ocarina.
Yeah.
We're hidden away with the most valuable collection of extraterrestrial artifacts in the world, and you just stumbled in by mistake.
Pretty much sums me up, yeah.
Question is, how did you get in? The cage contains my one living specimen.
And what's that?
Like you don't know.
Show me.
You want to see it?
Blimey, you can smell the testosterone.
Got on. Inform the cage. We're heading down. You, English, look out for the girl. Go and
canoodle or spoon or whatever it is you British do. And you, doctor with no
Trying to
name.
place Eccleston's accent. It's very north of England, I think.
I think they've mentioned that.
Not Liverpool, but it's very close. It's a very John Lennon, Paul McCartney sort of accent, so Liverpool, Manchester, someplace north.
Well,
I love that accent. Always wanted to do one on stage.
Impossible.
Then what are you good for, Dalek? What's the point of you?
Doesn't have a 360-degree turn on its head.
What the hell are you here for?
I guess it's that damaged.
I watched it happen.
I made it happen!
You destroyed us!
Goes against everything that it was set up to do, but what the heck.
I had no choice.
The end of the last great time war.
Everyone lost.
It's a pretty tricky time, especially for him.
Oh. Exterminate.
Why should I? You never did. Listen to me. That thing downstairs is gonna kill every last one of us.
Nothing can escape the cage.
It's not a very impressive cage. It's just two chains.
It's gonna get out.
I met a human who was not afraid.
Rosemary.
Genetic material extrapolated.
Yeah, little known fact, Daleks are great actors.
What you gonna do? Sucker me to death?
Yep. And this time we got the CG budget to do it.
Abandoning the cage.
It is interesting the stuff they introduce, like the healing by absorbing the internet.
Emergency power.
See, they weren't prepared for Matrix.exe. See, now it's got the 360, it just needed to heal.
Elevate.
Oh, yes. Floating Daleks.
Yeah. Well, after 40 years of questioning if stairs would beat them, they finally gave us an answer.
Aim for the dome, the head, the eyepiece. That's the weak spot.
Thank you, Doctor, but I think I know how to fight one single tin robot.
See, that guy deserves to die.
Famous last words.
Yeah. I know that 20 people have already died, but we're fine. We know what we're doing.
Again, great sets.
Oh yeah.
Your fire. You two get the hell out of there.
And this was before the show's budget kept getting higher.
Refute them all.
Yep. It just did that to show off. It could have just gone around one at a time.
Kill yourself.
The Daleks must survive.
The Daleks have failed. Why don't you finish the job and make the Daleks extinct? Rid the universe of your filth. Why don't you just die?
You would make a good Dalek.
Yeesh. Yeah, 9 got really dark compared to the others.
Level 49.
You've got to keep moving. The vault's
They've
being
gone
sealed
up
off.
4 levels in the last 10 minutes. I could run faster than that.
There's a lot of stairs, you know?
But still,
Well,
they were on level 53, they made it to 49.
they're faster than him at least.
Baseball, this is where they tell you to slide.
Well, he rolled.
The vault is sealed.
Kill it when it gets here.
All the guns are useless, and the alien weapons are in the vault.
Only the catalogue ones.
Broken.
Straight out of Independence Day.
I'm so sorry. I swear. I just wanted you to talk.
Then hear me talk now. Exterminate. I want freedom.
It wasn't the greatest strategy to just keep shocking him in the hopes that something will happen.
I am the last of the Daleks.
You're not even that.
Sort of.
Are you frightened, Rose Tider?
Yeah.
So am I. Exterminate.
And that was really the last one. We'll never see them again.
200.
I'll have to go back home.
Better hurry up then. Next flight to Heathrow leaves at 1500 hours.
Adam was saying that all his life he wanted to see the stars.
Time to go and stand outside then.
He's following his own doctor. Needed help.
And that's the episode.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I certainly like I'll be honest with you, I like the format better. Entire story contained within a single hour, although that would have been 2 episodes of the old Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously well written. Like the characters. Van Statten's a little overplayed, I thought, but everybody else was good. And obviously, again, production values off the charts. You know, exponentially better than anything that we saw, including, you know, the last couple, Baker and Davison and some of the others. So,
Yeah.
so I liked it.
All right. That's good.
Sorry. Lint.
Has that been there the whole episode?
Oh, it could have been. Who knows?
Oh, boy. I just noticed that. I was like, there's nothing in here that would cause that. So you must have had that before we started recording.
Well, if anybody was watching that and not watching what we're doing, then we weren't doing our jobs.
I guess that's true. Oh, it was definitely interesting rewatching this episode because it has been a good while. Even the next 2 episodes that we're going to watch, I have watched within the past year. But that was such an early one. But yeah, that's the last of the Daleks. For real. For real. No.
No, they don't ever come back?
No, they do.
Oh.
They come back like maybe 7 episodes later, actually. I think it's in the BBC's contract that if they want to keep the Daleks, they have to bring them back once a season. So, but yeah, they come back at the season finale. So,
I had a thought right there at the end that this is kind of a intriguing twist on H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, where the aliens come down and are killed off by human diseases, kind of like, you know, many of the New World people were killed off by the Old World diseases. But in this case, rather than being killed by, you know, the common cold, which they apparently have already eradicated, instead, Rose touching the outer shell and not bursting into flames, which was kind of odd, he is infected not by germs or by diseases, but by her spirit, her consciousness, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
He develops the understanding that he can't exterminate. He is the last of his kind, and it is in his best interest to exterminate himself. So, but kind of an interesting twist.
Basically infected by her humanity.
Yes. Oh, what a great idea. Yes.
Yeah. And I think the reason they said why she didn't burst into flames like the last guy that touched him was specifically because she was a time traveler.
Okay.
That she, I don't know, resisted it, or just, it was more just the absorption of her DNA and stuff instead of just completely being destroyed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely really fun to rewatch this. So what did you think of the Ninth Doctor?
I love the fact that he had a lot of humor. You know, I've always said that when they lose the humor in science fiction, it can get really overblown really, really, really quickly and really, really badly. So I love the fact that he did have some humor. Again, the only even minor quibble I have is the character of Van Statten. You know, we've talked about megalomaniacs and all that sort of thing, but I don't think that anybody would have done what he did. In that, you know, when I realize you've got a cure for the common cold, and so he's, you know, still trying to make money off of it.
Right.
But some of the other things, it just seemed like they overdid him so that he would come off as the villain, and he really wasn't so much a villain as he was just, you know, a real, pardon the expression, a-hole.
Yeah.
The other thing is why, I don't understand why Utah. I mean, sure, out in the middle of the desert, but if you're going to do that, I mean, you've got the whole Area 51 in Nevada, Salt Lake City. I mean, that's just such an odd place to put that.
Maybe because it's quiet. No one would suspect, and I don't know how many British people would catch on to this, but if there is anything happening in the United States, the last place it's happening is Utah, I feel like.
Entirely possible.
It is probably the most, like, not thought of state out of all of them.
Yeah. Of course, we've been through it. We've been to the Great Salt Lake. We went up to Ogden and Provo and saw the promontory point where they joined the transcontinental railroads.
Yeah.
There's one other thing that I was thinking of. Maybe it'll come to me here in a minute. But if you want to go on, I'll come back to it.
Yeah, and it could also be that the reason he wouldn't go, it wouldn't be near Area 51 or anything, is because he may want to stay away from the government. So it can kind of make sense. I do agree that it's like, all right, that's just the most random state you could have picked, but it did work out.
Yeah.
And it was still in that area, you know, where it's like, you know, at night you can easily see the stars.
I remember, and this, talk about bizarre connection to 40 years ago. When I played Dr. Watson back in the early 80s, in a young Dr. Watson in a show based on The Curse of the Sign of the Four, I went through, because playing Dr. Watson, I wanted to read everything that he had supposedly written. And I remember one of the Sherlock Holmes early novels was set both in London, and then there was a trip where I swear it was, they made a trip to Utah. There was something about the westward expansion, something going out to Utah, Valley of Fear. So again, my memory is hazy at best. Somebody in the comments can probably make that connection for us. But yeah, so if you're a Sherlock Holmes fan, if you're a Conan Doyle fan, that might be a connection. Again, I don't know. But yeah, Utah seems an odd choice.
Yeah. Well, we might as well start popping through the notes. Now, of course, I'm writing down these notes having already watched it, so I tried to pick up. Unfortunately, I don't have my original notes because back when I first started, I was using index cards to write my notes, so I didn't have that. And I think since I switched over to this, I started at season 3 of Doctor Who at the beginning of this, and only now am I finally getting to the end of this notebook.
Wow, that's a lot of notes in there.
Oh yeah,
there's probably at least 100 pages, if not more.
Yeah, and I have filled them all, and I've gotten... See, recently I've been doing, 4 or 5 episodes per thing, but now with some of the shows I'm doing, like Steven Universe episodes are shorter, so I'm fitting more episodes as I possibly can. And I've still got a couple pages left before this notebook finally kicks the bucket. But yeah, I have used I've used this for a while, and actually the next 2 episodes I will actually be able to go back and reference my old notes, but not on this episode. I didn't have it that early. So the first thing I wrote down was the instrument. I thought that was a nice little moment of the thing that they didn't understand it, and the Doctor started to play as like, yeah, it's an instrument, it's the slightest of movements. And I did like that Van Staten, he did start to get it a little bit. He was, taking it very delicately, and then he threw it, and he was like, all right, well, back to this.
Yeah.
I will say with Van Staten, maybe one of the other reasons that, even though this doesn't explain why it's in Utah, I feel like this character only works as an American.
Yeah.
like the overly greedy,
yes.
business tycoon is like
aggressive type, type A alpha male. Yeah.
He definitely worked as an American, and it played well off of the Doctor. So, I wrote down 9 and the Dalek. That scene, I forgot how amazing the acting is when Christopher Eccleston first encounters the Dalek, and because this is every actor that plays the Doctor, they have to pick up the role, and sometimes if they have to reference stuff from the past, well, maybe they weren't in that episode or something, but this has the added level of, it's not just that he's referencing something that a previous Doctor did. No Doctor actually portrayed the Time War, because the Time War is basically the excuse they made up for why the show was off the air for so long. Oh, the Doctor, he was busy in the Time War, so that's why it's been gone for so long.
Yeah, and the even for its mechanical nature, the Dalek's voice was much easier to understand. You could actually hear some emotion and things as he was switching from the exterminator to becoming more and more humanized.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because actually going back to this episode, I thought there were a couple times where he was just a little bit hard to understand. So now I'm thinking that as the show has gone on, they have maybe reduced the Dalek voice just a little bit, mainly just the mechanical part of it. Maybe reduce that to make it a bit more clear.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that entire scene, I feel like that maybe of this first season might be Christopher Eccleston's best performance when he's confronting the Dalek, and especially because this really shows something that we haven't seen with the first 8 is how dark the Doctor has really gotten, and he's had some sort of darker moments and stuff like that, but and especially like the 7th Doctor, when he tricked Davros into blowing himself up basically with the hand of Omega, but this does show just the true dark side that has been brought about from the Time War.
Well, you vocally reacted, and I probably had a physical reaction to that line about you would have made a good Dalek.
Yeah, that even back when I started the show, when I first reacted to this, knowing nothing about the Daleks or the Doctor or anything like that, I was just like, ooh, that's got to cut deep.
Need some ointment for that burn.
Yeah, you're going to need some burn heal for that. And that is one of the, I guess, sort of character arcs that the Doctor goes on, honestly, throughout the whole show so far, through the 7 seasons that I've watched so far, is this continuing character arc of the Doctor does sort of need to fight his darker tendencies that he gained from the Time War, and that is mostly, like the Dalek, it's given through his companion. So not only did Rose give humanity to the Dalek, but his companion always gives him that side of him, and when he doesn't have a companion, he gets kind of regresses back into the Time War, and it's a little tricky. I wrote down Rose and her interactions with the Dalek. What did you think of Rose?
Well, I'd say this. First of all, she didn't look 19. But it's convincing character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot about her, obviously, reading comments and things like that.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time I've actually seen her. But yeah, great character, worked very well in this particular story. And I'm assuming at some point we'll see more of her. It may be a year down the line, but...
Well, I don't know. Well, that implies that we're ever going to loop back around to these, which I don't know. I guess we could.
We'll have to see.
I think I remember when we started these classic Who reactions, there were people that wanted you to catch up on modern Doctor Who so you could just be in every video. So maybe we could loop around, but I mean that'll be a while from now. Unfortunately, Rose will not be in the next episode, even though she stayed on as the companion from 9 to 10. So she actually stayed on for 2 seasons and was there when 9 regenerated into 10, which I think was a good idea. It's a little... I feel like it would have been tricky if it was just 9 regenerating and no one was there. We didn't have our companion to sort of be like, all right, well, this is normal. We have to deal with our new actor. But let's see. So yeah, Rose was definitely good in this episode. I wrote down the healing, which was sort of a newer concept for the Daleks, but we've never seen a Dalek in such dire situation like this.
Rose certainly took a more active role than a lot of previous companions that we've seen. Now, again, that may just simply be the episodes that we've seen, but she was an integral part of this story. Without her, this story wouldn't have gone to its conclusion, because without her touching the Dalek and imparting her DNA, then none of this would have made any sense.
And honestly, I feel like she kind of solved the problem more than the Doctor did, because the Doctor was just ready to just kill the Dalek, but she was trying to give him more of a chance. Which is sort of... It is sort of a thing with newer Doctor Who, that the companions are a bit more involved, even if, maybe they're not like Ian and Barbara, where technically, Ian was the main character, and the Doctor was just sort of the, the mysterious man. But like more than... I don't know, Adric, I guess.
Well, again, we only saw Adric a couple of times.
That's true. So it is possible that there are episodes where they were more involved, but especially when I started, over the first 3 episodes, I remember there was sort of a pattern of the first episode, the Doctor saved the day, and then in the second episode, Rose saved the day, I think, or maybe I got that backwards. It's been a while since but I remember catching that pattern. And in the third episode, I think it was sort of our guest companion that saved the day. I think it was Charles Dickens that saved the day. He blew up a house. It was fun. Yeah.
Do we want to make any comments about our recent
Christmas Carol?
Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say this. I don't want to say that I'm a Dickens purist, but I've done more than a dozen productions of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, including having written an adaptation, which literally is just putting the book on stage. All the characters speak only the lines that Dickens put in. There's seriously nothing that I wrote. I simply took his words, had characters narrate their own actions, things like that, and the descriptions of the towns and everything. And so we watched the BBC FX version.
Yeah.
And I guess the safest thing to say would be it is interesting. It was an interesting production, but it wasn't a Christmas Carol. It's that simple. If they had called it another Christmas Carol or a different Christmas Carol, because other than a couple of names, Marley and Scrooge and Fred, that's literally, and the ghosts, there's nothing about that Charles Dickens put any mention of that in his book, nor would I think he would have, as a Victorian gentleman, been comfortable putting any of that in the book. It comes down to capitalism, almost a sense of Marxism at some point there. And as a story, in and of itself, it was interesting. It bothers me that they called it a Christmas Carol because it's just not a Christmas Carol.
We are definitely going to have to film a review because you just took a minute of your most basic thoughts, and that was like a minute long. So I can definitely tell we're going to film a longer review of that. And some of you guys might know I was also tweeting while we were watching A Christmas Carol. And that was fun. And especially because you guys were talking to me about how your thoughts on Christmas Carol, and that was just fun too. Especially because we watched it like, almost all at once. We couldn't take the whole 3 hours at the same time, but a lot of people in the UK, were going night after night, so it was just fun watching just on that first night, watching those reactions just sort of pour in.
Yeah.
But that is off topic. We should definitely do that
if we get some time.
Yeah, it's a little late tonight. I would because we have the set all built and everything, but we'll come back to it another night. Anyway, back to the Dalek at hand.
Or at plunger.
Yeah, we've never seen them use the plunger in that way, have we? Have they used the plunger at all in what we've seen?
Not that I remember.
I don't think so, but that, I mean, yeah, he did use it to like go and start to download the internet and stuff like that. But and we also saw him use it on the keypad. I'm not sure how that worked, but it did. But just the fact that he had his blaster. He could have shot the guy, but he's like, you know what? I'm specifically going to sucker this guy. Just to... And I think there's an episode later on where there's like 5 of them, and they just all put their plungers on a dude's head and just crush it down. It's funny. Yeah. And see, now we have the CG budget to do that. They couldn't do that with the in the classic series. So yeah, let's see, what else did I write down? Van Staten, we talked about him.
You'd think, though, with a guy with all of his millions or billions of dollars, that he could have gotten a better hair transplant. That was such an odd look for him. That's like a cheesy 1960s supervillain.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's just the actor's regular hair, and they didn't specifically do that. But yeah, that was kind of off-putting.
Yeah. Well, and also the fact that in his office, behind his desk, is just a painting of him. So, and it's not like a good painting of him. It's like a weird, like, artsy-fartsy painting of him. But it's still just him. It's very weird. Like, they really went all in on how full of himself he is.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe it would have been better if, like, maybe 5 minutes earlier he decided to repent and help out and stuff. But it did take him a while to get to the point where he's like, why don't I help? Why don't we get out of here? And mainly just because the Dalek started to threaten his life at that point.
He only did it because he wanted to live.
Yeah, basically.
Can't make any money off of it, so get out with your life.
Yeah. I wrote down part Rose, the Dalek being part Rose. Again, sort of a new concept, which I do like that they introduced a few new things for the Dalek, like downloading the entire internet or being able to just completely heal itself, too. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, just absorbing some of Rose's humanity, and then it's sort of basically holding a mirror up to it and being like, oh, this is what the Daleks are. I do not want to be this anymore.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, you could say they somewhat do for the Doctor, is, they sort of do that at the end where he's like, oh, what am I doing? But he can live with himself, and the Dalek can't. To be fair, I guess everything that he did was not as horrible. He wasn't bred to commit genocide across the universe, so...
Although, strangely enough, he actually admits to the fact that he ended the war.
He did.
By, essentially killing all the Daleks.
Yeah.
So he did commit genocide.
Well, and also the fact that it's not just the Daleks. He also had to end the Time Lords, too.
Yeah.
So, which they go into that a lot more in Tennant's run, and more towards the end. A lot of stuff about how he just had to end the Time War. Like, no one won the Time War. It's just that the Doctor survived. So, and the last thing I wrote down is so stupid, but when the Dalek opens up and you see the squid, there were a couple times where it got a shot, and it was the same angle, and about 3 times that they cut back to that angle, the exact same drop of goo fell onto the Dalek. And every so often I'd be like, there it is again. I can see it. It's about to drop, and there. And then I think the last 2 times that they cut there, it was clear that, all right, that drop has gone down now. It's like, I don't know why I noticed that. It's incredibly stupid. I'm supposed to be watching this incredibly great, powerful moment of the Dalek's self-realization, and I was like, that has dropped 8 times now.
Distracted by goo.
Yeah, and it definitely was gooey. Have we seen the squids in the classic series? I don't think so. They show them a lot in the modern series.
You showed a tentacle or something.
Yeah.
The first time that Ian pulls one out and they put the tarp over it.
Right.
But yeah, no, we've never seen it. And you could tell quite obviously, too, that was probably influenced by the face hugger in the Alien film. Again, very kind of light gray because it's inside all the time and doesn't get a chance to get any sunlight on it. And again, just that very almost the crab-like fingers. We keep calling it squid, but it really has kind of a crab-like feature to it. So anyway, it was disgusting, as it should be. But it was very effective. I liked it.
Yeah. And that's pretty much all I wrote down. You got anything else?
No, other than I'm now suddenly thinking about seafood.
We already took you to Red Lobster. You don't get it again for another few months. So,
rats.
All
right.
But don't worry. Father's Day will come around in June. Yeah, that's a while from now. Oh well. Yeah. It was really fun revisiting this episode, and next time we're going to do that again, because next time we are moving on to the. It's not even a season. The next one we're going to. It's the autumn 2009 special. It's right at the end of Tennant's run, between season 4, which was his final actual season, and season 5, which was the first of Matt Smith's seasons. They had a handful of just special episodes that they just ran all year. So this will be the autumn 2009 special, The Waters of Mars.
Okay.
Yeah, it is an extremely excellent episode. So
okay.
Yeah. Granted, we're not watching that next week because we are taking a 1-week break. Although, like I said, that doesn't affect you. So yeah, it'll be back when it's back. Just keep checking your sub box if those things work anyway. It's sort of hit or miss when those work and when those don't. You can follow me on Twitter. I'll post about it when it comes out. But yeah, it'll be a little bit before that episode. So yeah, with all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of our Doctor Who classic reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.